ברוכים הבאים. ברוכים הבאים means welcome. ברוכים הבאים means blessed are those who have joined us this evening. Welcome to this space, this sacred space, and welcome to this most sacred time in the Jewish year. Before we start, a couple things. For those of you who are here with us, we'll welcome you who are joining us from home, wherever you find us. But please, those of you who are here tonight, please turn your cell phones off. Remember, we used to ask people to do that. And then for the last year and a half, we start to tell people, please unmute yourself. So we are back to please silence your cell phone so that we can really truly be in the space together and not be distracted or connected to the world out there. Also, for those of you who are here tonight in this space with us, I'm going to ask something of you. The agreement you have entered into as you picked your tickets and showed up tonight included that we ask of you to wear your mask for the 2 hours that we'll be together in this space. And we ask that you respect this for those 2 hours, that you keep your mask on with your nose being covered as well, not because of a place of fear, but because of a place of love. Because we love one another, because we care for each other, and therefore we want the best for each other. And because of this outpouring of love from within, we ask that you keep your mask on. If at some point during the night becomes itchy or you really need to get a break from wearing your mask, that's really fine. Just please step out of the room, step outside, get a little bit of fresh air, and then when you're ready to come back, just put your mask back on and come and sit with us. Thank you. Thank you for your love and thank you for your care. Now we can start. And I wanted to start also by telling you that I'm not going to be moving much from here. I know usually I walk up and down the aisle and the times have changed, and I'm kind of going to be staying right here tonight. I'm not wearing a mask, and I, from a place of love, don't want to be too close to you, for you. So it's going to be a little awkward for me because you know me, I like to dance and move, but this is what we have, and that's okay. We practice just being with what is. So here is a way to practice tonight. Now I'm gonna tell you a little secret. There are exactly 18 days between tonight and Yom Kippur Eve, between tonight and Kol Nidre. Exactly 18 days. It doesn't happen every year. Actually, it doesn't happen many years. But this year, somehow the calendars have aligned that the evening of Slichot is exactly 18 days away from the evening of Yom Kippur. Now, file that for just a moment. This year, we're about to enter. In the Hebrew calendar is the year 5782. Now, I always like to look in the gematria of things, the Kabbalistic interpretation of numbers. So we have to take 5872, add 5782, add those all up, and he gives us 22. Now that's interesting because the secular year about to be is also going to be 22. So I don't know, maybe there's a catch there. I don't know. But if you continue with collapsing the gematria, the 2 and the 2 becomes 4. And 4 is the letter Dalet in the Hebrew alphabet. And Dalet in Hebrew means door or doorway. This year is a door or doorway. So perhaps tonight, as we make our way to this new year, perhaps tonight, I'd like to invite you to consider that maybe a door is opening. Maybe a door is opening for you. A door is opening for you in your life. A door is opening for you in imagining your future. A door is opening for you in relationship, maybe. A door is opening for you to reimagine what your tomorrow might be. To perhaps enable you to set your path, your life journey on a slightly different trajectory that it has been. Maybe a door is opening that we might reset, that we might actually look at what we want to find behind that door and really think deeply of what that might be. What would we want to find behind that door this year? Now, I'm going to offer another way to look at it. For us to look at our lives over the next 18 days, 18 being the gematria for chai, for life, which is fascinating that those 18 days we have is like an invitation to renew our own life. 18 days. So I'm going to invite you to consider a different possibility. That maybe we are invited to look at all the doors that have been closed in our lives. The doors that we have shut closed, many sometimes years ago. When we have closed the door maybe on a relationship, when we have closed the door maybe on a possibility of exploring this or that aspect of life. May we have closed the door on a dream we had, a vision we had. But life happened and we closed the door. Maybe this year is here to tell us we might want to reassess. To look at those doors we have closed around us and to see perhaps there is a possibility to open the doors again. Each of us will be invited to look at what that might be and feel from within what is called up to do next. The theme for these high holidays, I decided, was it 6 months ago now? That we would have the theme be the humble path to remembering our self. And I wrote self on purpose with a capital S. I wanted us to spend these 18 days to look at at remembering our true self, our true nature. And I really connected with that word, remembering ourself. That word, remembering, really caught my eye, and I started to think about it as the opposite of another word, dismembering. I started to think that remembering is about putting back together what has been dismembered. And that's a question we might want to ask ourselves. What has been dismembered in our lives? What has been fractured? What has become fragmented in ourself, in our life, in our being? On a deep spiritual level, of course, what has been fragmented, what has been dismantled, what has been dismembered is reality itself. We are beings who split reality into an infinite almost number of bits, of separate elements. And amongst that, we split also self with a capital S, our self, into a dismembered kind of self, a separate sense of self. We have all this time seen this separate sense of self that we have identified with as a stranger in the world. An alienated entity navigating its way in the dismembered reality. We think of ourselves, we feel ourselves as an island in the grand sea of reality. But we weren't meant to be separate selves. We were actually born as Adam, as earthlings. Part of the earth, expressions of the earth. But then we created a world in our thoughts, in our minds, that has separated us from the earth. Sure, you and I, we still walk the earth, but each of us live in our own separate world. In fact, there are about 7 billion separate worlds populating Earth. You know what I mean? That there is a distinction between the earth we inhabit and the world we have constructed within which we live our lives. And that's also a dismembering, a false separation. It's like we took the the pie of life, of reality, and our mind split it up in a quasi-infinity number of slices, all misshapen slices. And then we became mesmerized by what we had created, by all of those sliced portions of the pie of reality. We collapsed our consciousness into it. We made believe that this slicing of the pie we have imagined actually is truth, is reality. We have created a map inside ourselves of a dismembered reality that we are overlaying onto the truth of reality, the totality of the pie. And so remembering is to remember. It's like to finally see the pie of life, of reality, in its totality. It's like knowing Earth and all the life forms that it is as a totality. Because we are not on Earth. See, we were not plopped onto this planet from outer space. We are not on Earth. We are Earth. It's like a leaf. A leaf is not on the tree. A leaf is the tree. But our minds, it's hard for our minds to conceive of this, because our minds are really, really great at slicing things up, at dividing, at dismembering. I mean, if you look at the story of creation, the way we create is we separate things, dark from light, up from down. Everything is becoming two-ness. We split, we separate, we dismember. And we do that with the tree, right? I mean, if we think of a tree, we think of roots, and then trunk, and then branches, and then leaves. It's as if the tree had 4 different things going on, 4 different separate parts of a tree. But do you understand that this is only us? It is only constructs within our minds? And I guess we do that because we want to understand the leaf. We meet the leaf and understand that this is a metaphor for life and for all of us, right? But we meet the leaf, and we want to understand that leaf, how it works. What are its qualities? What's its behavior? What is its leafness? We want to understand its function, its purpose. And because we do that, we forget that the leaf is also just an extension of the tree. And even the tree, we slice it into all these different kinds of parts. And when we think of tree, we also think of tree as an entity of its own in our minds, the way we picture reality. We don't see tree, if we think of tree right now, as the soil within which it's grounded, it's emerging from. See, we create separations when there are no separations. We create false separation between the leaf, the branch, the trunk, the roots, and then the soil in which it is. It is not in the soil. I mean, think about it. The tree is not in the soil. The soil and the tree are not two things. There is no tree without soil. So the tree is the soil, and the soil is the sum of billions of years of life that has been there and died and decayed and became the soil. The soil is the creation of earth. made soil in that moment for that tree that is not separate from the soil, just as the tree is not separate from the wind or the rains or the clouds or the sun or the solar system or the entire universe. Only the mind sees separations when there is totality. The tree is the totality of the universe made tree. And so are we. We, each and every one of us, is the totality of the universe made you. Through and through. So remembering is about knowing that spirit, that self, that being itself is a totality. Because we've even dismembered God. We have dismembered God. We have made God into a particular. We've made God into a thing, into an entity. We've made God into something we are looking for, that we are seeking to encounter, to meet, to find. But God isn't a particular. God is. God is a totality. God is. So this is what I am inviting us into these high holy days, starting tonight. And we're gonna use the path that the Hasidic masters have drawn for you some 300 years ago as a way to remember ourself with a capital S. And they have laid out a path that goes from ani in Hebrew to ani to ani. 3 ani. Ani in Hebrew, the first of the ani is the small self, is the I. And we're going to do that tonight. Tonight we're going to really wrestle with the small, separate sense of self. We're going to really look at it in all the ways it manifests, in all the ways it is conditioned, in all the ways that, in fact, it causes pain and suffering to us and to those around us. It's going to be a fun night. Rosh Hashanah, we're going to move from ani, the little self, the little I, to ani, but this time spelled with an ayin. And that ani with an ayin means humbleness. It's the humbleness we gain from looking at the small, separate sense of self. It makes us a little bit more humble. It kind of dismantles the pedestal on which we have put our little separate self. And it allows us, it invites us to surrender. And from that place of deep surrender, we meet the last ani, the last I, the capital I of self with a big S. And that's going to be on Yom Kippur, God willing. So we are on page 3 in the prayer book, and we start with Ashrei. It's a psalm that invites us to already conjure up for ourselves, in our minds and in our heart, a reality at the greater sense of self, the bigger sense of self. So I'm going to ask you to join me in the reading of the Hebrew and then the English, and then we'll sing the first verse. Join me. Ashrei yoshvei veitecha, od yehalelucha sela. Ashrei ha'am shekacha lo. Ashrei ha'am she'Adonai Elohav. Happy are those who dwell in your house, for their hearts sing praises in your presence. Happy are the people who choose what is. Happy are the people who see all creation as the expression of the one totality. A psalm of David. How wondrous the ways you manifest, Holy One. How blessed your eternal name. Every day I find more opportunities to bless, in awe of your presence in my life. I sing with joy in the presence of being within and without, everywhere and nowhere. Each generation praises the marvels of creation, bewildered by its magnificence. Anywhere I turn, I am surrounded by beauty. Words of wonder overwhelm me. Overpowering are the energies of your being that always draw me back to my center. The knowledge of your goodness enlivens me. Your righteousness stirs within me. You are gracious and merciful, endowing every soul with patience and love. Goodness is the source of all creation, compassion the ground of all existence. I am moved with infinite gratitude, blessed by the grace of your being. In all my actions, I express thankfulness for all the blessings of my world. In every being, your presence awakens, everyone beautiful and worthy. Your being fills all worlds, visible and invisible, time-bound and timeless. You are the love that uplifts the downtrodden, raises up the humiliated. All eyes see but your presence everywhere. You are the nourishment in every moment. In opening our hearts to your being, you satiate us beyond our will. I walk in your footsteps when I act justly, for compassion is the fabric of creation. Closer than I can ever fathom is the eternal. You are the truth behind all experiences. You await at the end of all desires, beyond the chatter of the mind. You are the love that guards us along the way, that tears down the walls of our delusions. I will praise the Holy One, for in the heart of all beings is your name forever engraved. Va'anachnu nevarech ya me'eta ve'ad olam. Hallelujah. And we will bless the Eternal One, now and always. Hallelujah. We are on the top of page 4, and I invite you to please rise. We rise for the Shehechianu, to bless this moment. There's something special about this Shehechianu, that we have together reached this day, that we have learned in this past year and a half the preciousness of each other's presence. Sometimes when we miss something, that we learn how precious it was. That we have also learned the preciousness of each breath as we've been breathing behind our masks for this past year and a half. We have become very familiar with our breath. This Shehechianu tonight is inviting us to make these high holidays count, to make these high holidays a blessing. Join me. Baruch Ata Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, שהחיינו וקימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. Blessed One, you are the emptiness that manifests as form. You are the life within us. You support and sustain us on our unique path and bring us to this moment for blessing. We sing? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam שהחיינו וקימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שהחיינו וקימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שהחיינו וקימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שהחיינו וקימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. Please be seated. We've come to one of my favorite moments in the High Holy Days, actually, the moment that we transition into those energies, and we do that through the Havdalah. So I'm going to light the candle, and I'm going to ask the musicians who are just sat down to help us remind ourselves of how the melody goes for the Havdalah. So if 5782 is a doorway, is a door, Havdalah is the mezuzah for the door. Havdalah is the mezuzah in time. And this is the ritual that we get to affix that mezuzah on the door of the year about to be. We start with a blessing over wine. We start with filling our cup. And this cup is the container of our high holidays, of your high holidays. And as we begin the process of entering into those energies, as I am about to fill this cup with this delicious wine, the question for you is, what is your cup? What is your cup, and what do you want to fill the cup of your high holidays with? Through those 18 days. What is your intention for your high holidays this year? What is your kavanah for your high holidays this year? Another way to ask is, why are you here? And I want to really kind of wait and be with that question. Why are you here this year? Why are you here in this moment? Because we can't proceed further if we don't at least hold the question for ourselves. You have chosen to be here tonight. You have chosen to go through those high holidays this year again. It is an act that comes from the deepest place within us. What are you being called to these high holidays? What will you fill this cup with? The blessing with the song ends with Boré Pri Hagafen. And for the Havdalah, we don't drink the wine immediately after the blessing. We will drink the wine at the end of the ritual. We will taste at the end of the high holidays whatever we have poured into our cup over the next 18 days. And that is the symbol of the ritual. And then we have our spice box with the spices in it. And I'm going to be the only one doing it here tonight because we don't want to handle things touched by each other. It's just where we are in our world right now. So symbolically, I will be smelling the spices for you. You know, the spices are there to wake us up. It's like a call. It's like a call. This is fun. A call to wake up. A call to wake up from our slumber, from our habituated lives. The call that, Socrates, who said, the unexamined life isn't worth living. These high holidays, like every high holidays, is the time we're invited to actually examine our life to see how the ani, the little I, manifests itself. So wake up. Wake up. Wake up to the truth. Wake up to now. The blessing is Boré Mine Vesamim. Boré Mine Vesamim. The next blessing is over the light, the blessing of the light of the Havdalah, that unique Havdalah candle. This one is breaded of 6 different wicks. It's this delusion, I was talking about, the dismembering of reality, that each of us seems to be on our own twisted, wicked way. That is our life. But then the reality that transcends, that ends the trance of separateness, is the energy that brings all of the wicks together. And I always say it's an illusion that the flame is an expression of the wicks. The truth is that the wicks are an expression of the flame, of the one flame. On this high holidays, may the light of the totality of the flame of spirit within each of us illuminate our path forward, that we might emerge out of the darkness, the confusion of separation, and remember our true self. Our true self that is remembered when we look at the light reflected in our fingernails and the shadow that it casts on our palm. When we remember that both the light and the darkness in our life are an expression of that one light. The blessing is Boré Meoré Haesh. Boré Meoré Haesh. Next is the Havdalah blessing, to bless this moment Havdalah means transition, means separation, to bless this moment of transition. That we are now stepping fully into the energies of the high holy days. Please read with me the English at the bottom of page 4. Blessed One, you are the emptiness that manifests as form, the source of all that is, the one who distinguishes the holy from the ordinary, the light from the dark, the spiritual path of the people called Israel from the spiritual path of all other peoples, the seventh day of rest from the 6 days of creating. Blessed One, you are the emptiness that manifests as form, the one who separates that which is holy from that which is yet to be holy. Hamavdil ben kodesh lechol. L'chaim. And we are at the top of page 5. We are about to extinguish the flame into the remaining wine. The flame is the transformative fire of spirit within each of us. And the cup is your high holy days. May the two of them, as they will right now, meet each other that we might uncover the greater light within the container of these holy days. Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hatishbi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu, Eliyahu Agiladi, Bimera veyamenu, Yavo Eleinu, Mashiach ben David, Mashiach ben David, Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hatishbi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu, Eliyahu Hagiladi, Shavua Tov, 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 Shavua Tov. A good week, a week of peace. May gladness reign and joy increase. A good week, a week of peace. May gladness reign and joy increase. Shavua Tov, Shavua Tov, Shavua Tov. and we meet again this year, the 13 qualities of God's name. That is actually how it is shared in most traditional prayer books. The 13 attributes of God's name, of God's presence, but we know that God's name is our name. So these are the 13 qualities, 13 attributes of our name. And it's really kind of an offering, a glimpse into the attributes, the qualities that are inherent to our true nature, to our true self. When we live from that place, those are the qualities that we embody. And you can read a few just quickly from the words in English: forgiveness, compassion, patience, kindness, truth. And as the text says, if you look at the first few lines of the English, we are asked in this space, in this moment, we ask to be supported in understanding our limitations. Do you see that in the English? That's what we're invited to take a look at, to see. It's understanding our limitations. To see when we're not conscious of those limitations, then the way we act is not patient, not kind, not forgiving, not truthful. But that's because we live from this fragmented place within ourselves. That separate, dismembered sense of self. So, with these words, may we begin now to courageously face our limitations, to look at them straight in the eye, that we might, in fact, heal beyond our conditioning. Will you read these words with me? Holy One of Being, embodiment of compassion and grace, you address us one by one. Support us in our understanding our limitations. Forgive our inadequacies and pass over our too blatant mistakes. You expunge the many instances when we have found ourselves missing the mark, and welcome back all those who stray. You deal righteously with every breathing being and do not dwell on our too human flaws. Long ago, you taught us a new song, the song of the 13 qualities of your name. Remember this song today as you did in that ancient wilderness, as it is recounted in your Torah, when your spirit descended in a cloud upon him and enwrapped him in its glory. And there it is said that he experienced your presence and heard a voice calling, Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum v'Chanun, Erech Apayim v'Rav Chesed v'Emet, Notze Chesed la'alafim, Nosei Avon v'Fesha v'Chata'a v'Nakeh. The eternal, God of compassion and grace, patience, unending loving kindness and truth, bearing love for 1,000 generations, cleansing and forgiving iniquity, transgression, and sin. So every year, as we create as many rituals as possible, to get us in the mood, to get us to physically make this transition. We do the Havdalah, we bring these high holiday songs just to help us be here. One of the things we do is that we dress our Torah in her high holiday garb, in her high holiday dress. So we're going to do that today, of course, tonight. I'm going to ask you to please rise as we open the ark. And I'm going to ask Diana, and I'm going to ask Celia as well, to come around. I wanted to invite them to dress the Torah tonight because this year and a half, every Shabbat, the two of you were there, every single Shabbat. And that was just amazing, to be able to count on them behind the screen of our Zoom Shabbat and know that they would steadfast be here, and if one wasn't able to make it to one Shabbat, the other was, and vice versa. So I want the two of you this Shabbat, this high holidays, this Slichot, to do us the honor and change our Torah into the high holiday dress. And Jal, you're going to probably just improvise something. We're going to place her back in the ark, and I can help you with that because there's a special step she has to take. Thank you. It's your first time holding the Torah? Wow. I'm glad. You're welcome. We're going to need you to get back to your mic because we're going to sing the Shema with the ark open. We are on top of page 6. We say before the song, and this is the High Holiday melodies, so this is the first time as well that we are going to be able to hear that melody this year. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Listen, Israel. The eternal manifests as all that is. The eternal is one. And join me for the Shema Kolenu. Shema Kolenu, Adonai Eloheinu, chus verachem aleinu, vekabel berachamim uvratzon et tefilatenu. Listen to our voice, Eternal One of Being. Show us kindness and compassion, and receive our prayers with kind-heartedness and goodwill. The next song is unique to the High Holidays, Hashivenu, return to us. I'm going to ask for the lights to grow dim in the sanctuary. The melody of this next song is of great mournfulness. It expresses the deepest yearning within our soul. It expresses a humbling within our being. And this is the kind of song that needs time to work through us. And so we'll give it all the time we need. I invite you to remain standing if you can throughout the song, and I invite you to lend your voices to sing with us. This is not a song to listen to. This is a prayerful song. This is a song that we use to pour our heart out. And so lend your voice to this moment. Hashivenu.
Amen.
Please be seated. And we're going to continue with just a few moments of silent meditation to let the energies of the song still flow through us. It is out of the silence that all sounds arise. It is back into the silence that all sounds dissolve. The silence, the emptiness, gives birth to all that is. And all that is returns to the silence and the emptiness from which it was conceived. And when we are able to deeply relax, we can begin to touch the silence underneath all the thoughts, all the emotions, all the sensations. We touch that quiet place that is our source, that is our ground. And it is always already there. It is nothing we have to do in order to find it. It's just about letting ourselves drop beneath the surface to touch that quietness. That peace, that shalom. 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 And as the lights slowly come back into the space, I invite you to turn to page 7 in your prayer book. And we meet once again the Al-Khet, the dreaded High Holy Day Al-Khet. But I love the Al-Khet this year. I think I love the Al-Khet every year. Because this is the place where we get to practice, we get to work to understand, as the 13 attributes of the divine name reminded us, we work to understand our limitations. The Al-Khet is the place where, wanting it or not, we are confronted with and must acknowledge the ways we are fragmented, the ways we have dismembered ourself, and the way this dismembered self shows up in the world. This is a real practice. Al-Khet, we say for all our sins, we call it sin, but the Hebrew, as I say every year, actually doesn't say sin. It means to miss the mark. We miss the mark when we forget. We miss the mark when we forget our true nature, our true self. And this forgetfulness is what leads us to live life that are more fragmented, dislocated. The Al-Khet is the Jewish confession, you know. We read the same list over and over again every single year when the high holidays come around. And every single year we are faced with the reality that nothing much has changed. It's sad. This is a nervous laugh, by the way. But it's true. I mean, in a second, we're going to read that list again, and we're going to go, oh, not much of me has changed. I have done 99% of all that is written in the next 3 pages. And I have to ask myself, as we all must ask ourselves, how is that working for you? I'm asking you, but I'm asking me. How is that working for you? How long are you going to continue to do nothing about it? I read all of the ways, what I have started to name my despicable me. The way my despicable me expresses. And I ask myself, why am I so attached? Why am I so attached to this fragmented persona? Why am I so attached to this hurtful character? So the invitation here is once again to be really clear as to how this conditioned self expresses and manifests in the world in all the painful ways and hurtful ways it does to others, toward others, and towards ourselves as well. I mean, we know that the world we see on the outside is only a reflection of the world on the inside. And look at what we have created. So the invitation is to be really clear, to be really honest, to once again say yes, yes, and then to take responsibility again, to not lie to ourselves, to not deny, also to not say, yeah, whatever, to not be glib about it. so that we can begin the process of healing what needs healing within ourselves. To heal, but also to remember. To see that pain and that suffering that this conditioned self is causing. And in that clear seeing, to be moved enough to grow beyond that separate sense of self. To be moved enough by this despicable me and say, no more. So we'll try again this year. And then we'll see where we are next year. We rise. We say together, our God and God of our fathers and mothers, we are not so insolent as to claim that we are without failing. We join in the ancient litany of confession as a community, as we have done for generations. For all the moments when with our actions, our words, our thoughts, our feelings, and our images, we denied the life that is our life. God of forgiveness, forgive us, pardon us, and grant us atonement. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, for the sin, we too, all of us, this is universal. This is not just me, it's not just you, it's all of you, all of us sitting in this space, all of us at home. We have sinned before you, our true self. How we have missed the mark, how we have forgotten our true self. Together. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha be'imutz halev. For the sin we have sinned before you by hardening our hearts to the feelings of others. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha bivli da'at. For the sin we have sinned before you because we lacked knowledge of the consequences of our actions. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha begilui arayot. For the sin we have sinned before you through acting against our own morality. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha bagalui uvasater. For the sin we have sinned before you openly or in secret. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha bedat uvmirama. For the sin we have sinned before you knowingly and deceitfully. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha bedibur peh. For the sin we have sinned before you through speech. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha bedhonaat re'ah. For the sin we have sinned before you through deceiving another person. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha bazadon uvishgaga. For the sin we've sinned before you consciously or unconsciously. Ve'al kulam Eloah slichot. Slach lanu, mechal lanu, kaper lanu. For all of them, God of forgiveness, forgive us, release us, grant us atonement. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha belatzon. For the sin we have sinned before you through scorning others. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha bechozek yad. For the sin we have sinned before you by hurtfully exercising power. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha bilshon hara. For the sin we have sinned before you by hurting other through our speech. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'masa uvmatan. For the sin we have sinned before you through dishonest and hurtful business dealings. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha biflilut. for the sin we have sinned before you in judging others and ourselves unfairly. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha bekashiyut oref, for the sin we have sinned before you through being obstinate. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha besinat chinam, for the sin we have sinned before you by hating too easily. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha betimhon levav, for the sin we have sinned before you through not knowing our own heart. Ve'al kulam Elohah slichot, slach lanu, mechal lanu, kaper lanu. For all of them, God of forgiveness, forgive us, release us, grant us atonement. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, for the sin we have sinned before you by failing to work toward peace. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, for the sin we have sinned before you by keeping silent in the face of injustice. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, for the sin we have sinned before you by not acting to relieve the suffering of those in distant lands. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, for the sin we have sinned before you by not caring for the poor in our midst. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, for the sin we have sinned before you by not acting to protect our fragile environment. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, for the sin we have sinned before you by indulging ourselves while others suffer. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, for the sin we have sinned before you by being unclear about our priorities in the life you have given us. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, for the sin we have sinned before you by being closed to your presence in your life. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, ve'al kulam Elohah slichot, slach lanu, mechal lanu, kaper lanu. For all of them, God of forgiveness, forgive us, release us, grant us atonement. Seated. And we continue with Adonai Ori at the bottom of page 9. So here we are, once again at the edge of the High Holy Days. In a moment we'll close this Slichot service with Ribono Shel Olam, which is on page 7 in your prayer book, and then immediately following we'll sound the shofar. And the shofar is to be listened to. The blessing calls us to deeply listen to the voice of the shofar. It's not a performance. Obviously, we don't clap at the end of the shofar. We just let the sounds, those ancient sounds, just pierce through, or better yet, open whatever door needs opening these high holy days. But before we do all that, I just want to remind everyone that we'll not be together for Yom Kippur. We will still hold a Yizkor service, a memorial service. And if there is any name of anyone that has made their transition this past year that you wish to see included in our Yizkor service, please email the office and let us know as soon as possible. Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, though the musicians and myself will be in the space, it will be a closed space. We will only do it through an online feed, which breaks my heart, but it is the way it has to be. It is September 6th in the evening and September 7th in the morning for Rosh Hashanah. And I know those are weekdays, and it's very tempting, especially because we're not coming to a space for high holidays, and we're staying home to go to work, because it's a little bit different. I'm asking you not to go to work. I know I ask that every year. And if you need a note from your rabbi, just let me know. But it's important that you don't go to work, that you let whomever is in charge of your employment know that this is a Jewish holiday and it's something you are connected to and want to be part of, and it should be respected. Also, even though we don't meet together in the space, and I know it's always more convenient when we come together in the space to bring food to the food bank, we're still doing our annual food raising for the food bank. And so, as this was our last opportunity to bring it to the space, please come to the Bet Aleph office and drop whatever food you can. Those who are still hungry are hungry regardless of COVID, and we need to keep supporting them. Thank you. Thank you. On page 7, Ribono Shel Olam. Please rise, and if you have a prayer shawl, I invite you to cover yourself with your prayer shawl, as this is to draw us inward.
Ribono Shel Olam, 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 Ribono.
Ruling presence of the universe. I now forgive all who have hurt me, all who have done me wrong, whether deliberately or by accident, whether by words, by deed, or by thought, whether against my pride, my person, or my property, in this incarnation or in any other. May no one be punished on my account. And may it be thy will, Eternal One, who is my God and the God of my fathers and mothers, that I be no more bound by the wrongs which I have committed, that I be free from patterns that cause pain to me and to others, that I no longer do that which is evil in thy sight. May my past failings be wiped away in your great mercy, Eternal One, and may they no longer manifest through pain and suffering. Let my words, my thoughts, my meditations, and my acts flow from the fullness of your being, Eternal One, source of my being and my Redeemer. We say, Lishana Tova. No, that's for next time. Just something to lead us out. Shavua Tov.